my name's Anne-Marie Pearman. I'm joined today by Kelly Mabel. Kelly is a coach and she's a founder of the Kind Mind community and Kind Mind Academy, and she's focused on bringing the three principles understanding to Canada. And she's also does group coaching, she does intensives, and she's also a facilitator. So welcome, Kelly.
Hello, it's great to be here. Great
Nice
to
to
be
see
here.
you. I'm going to start off by asking you, prior to coming across the three principles understanding, what your life looked like then, and whether it caused any change for you coming across the three principles understanding. So
hmm
before and after, what did life look like for you?
Great question. Um, I had the privilege of sneaking in on some of the other calls, which which is always nice to know, just where a room is going or where the understanding of a room is going. And I thought about this morning, and I have to. Well, first I'll say this: in approaching this conversation, Anne Marie and I had a lovely chat prior to, and we just fell into a connection where we could talk as humans and have um, some understanding between two people who don't know each other. And in that time frame, I just realized that's how simple this is that when two people are open to just get together, whether it be on a phone call or on Zoom or face to face, and we come with nothing on our minds, no agenda, no, other than the reason to just connect and meet each other. Um, there's some beautiful experiences that happen in those spaces, and thank you for having me in that, because up until that point we see each other on Zoom and in these beautiful Hollywood squares, but there's no knowing, no sensing, no understanding of people, just by picturing them, or listening to them maybe do a little shout out or have a question. So that was a lovely experience, which brings us here today. And to speak about the question, um, the the life before principles. Well, there's a lot to say about that. Let's just say that. I'm going to begin by saying, there's three areas of topic that usually spur conversation for me. And this one spurred the red thread. And so I had an experience with coaching prior to coming to the principles. Yet my journey began leaving an experiential park, which was in Joshua Tree, California, which is the beautiful desert. And I had just come off, almost 20 hours a day supporting up to 500 people in an outdoor camp. Now, just to give you the understanding, they do these scenarios where they put large groups of people in with experienced masters of a specific skill. Let's say outdoor hiking, hunting, rope climbing, jumping, taekwondo, things like that. And you go in not knowing what the experience is, and you support the room of everybody learning what's going to happen. And the unexpected is what's often coming up. And so we were driving home from this beautiful thing that I had been volunteering for a few years, and the unexpected happened. I was flat out. I was exhausted. We had been up till 1:30 packing down the experience. And we were driving through the desert, and it was about 4 o'clock and the sun was setting. And that feeling where you're just like in the zone. And my girlfriend was beside me and she was driving, and she goes, "Why don't we just listen to a podcast?" And I said, "Great." And I just kicked back my feet. And the scenario was that the sky was coming down and the rolling tundra hills, that dry grass. And there we were. And she just pressed go. And it was Michael Neal. Now, for those of you who might not know Michael Neal is one of the originals, first gens, if you will, of the principles. And he was speaking a story. And so I was watching the sun go down and sitting as a passenger, it was like this, the car, this is how it was going through the desert. And Michael started to tell a story. And it was a captivating story about an actor who had got so deep into the role of his acting for this particular movie. And some of you might even know this story. I don't know how far it goes back, but for me, it was brand new. And I felt like I was in the story. As I'm rolling along in the car, watching the mountains in the desert, there I was falling into the story about the movie of the mind. And I got so captivated by that story that I didn't even know where I was. Like I don't know where I was. I was just in the moment. And we started listening to this place where we ourselves, I myself, make up a story in my head about something that isn't real, about something that is imaginary, but feels so real to me that I'm actually living it. And he told the story about this actor, and the actor was playing a role in a war movie. And sorry, I just forget who it was now. Anyways, the actor was getting very, very involved in this, where he started to have physical feelings around it, loss of breath, exhaustion. And his wife kept seeing him come home like flat out and shattered. And she kept saying, "It's only a movie. It's only a movie." And he would go back to the role and play it as fully as he could. And Michael would tell the story where he finally ended up in the hospital and had a heart attack, a slight heart attack. And when he woke up, he saw his wife beside him. And she said, "It was only a movie. It was only acting." And in the car at that moment, I woke up to the movie of my own life. And the sky seemed brilliant. And the scenario that I was in was beside my girlfriend, having done all this supportive work and realizing I've been acting my whole life. I've been acting out whether I was good enough. I've been acting out whether I could make it. Are you going to like me? Are you going to be? And that was sort of the beginning of the end. In other words, life before Michael Neal moment was the red thread of my thinking, believing I wasn't good enough. And I grew up in a beautiful home with beautiful parents and siblings and everything, and yet we had precarious circumstances that led me to deep thinking of not being good enough, deep thinking of that I just didn't quite cut it. And I don't know whether it was me losing my identity in my own thoughts, where middle child syndrome, people can label anything that they want, but it was just me growing up with a real loss of understanding of who I was. And so I would go out in the world attaching myself to things. Oh, I guess I'm that, I must be that. And then I might go over here and attach myself to something else. And so thus the red thread of this, belief system that I had began. And I began following that system very deeply and with a perfectionist mind to get it right. I'm going to get it right. And in that space, I grew up, as I said, and my family went through a divorce, and we suddenly and abruptly moved to British Columbia. And I lived in Toronto prior to that. And so yet again, my identity was being challenged with the fact that, I'm now needing to myself, the reinvent, recreate, because all those friends and family are gone. So now here we are again. And that was also fun and interesting because I changed my name and added an E to my name because I thought that was cool at 12 years old because my sister did it. My big sister was doing it, so I needed to do it, right? And so then there was that. And then there was also, I wanted people to like me and be and so how can I recreate myself? And so I fell into a lot of thinking, which created some problems in my life, some havoc. And I fell into an eating disorder, which took away a lot of my self-esteem and confidence. And when I found some recovery with that, I fell into a great job, and of course that place where, doing it right, that was working for me. That was a real, it was an Irish tradition in our family. We no silver platters, get out there, do it. And so I had really great success, and I had 2 schools of my own, and I taught, and I was feeling really good about what I was doing, and I was running to the speed of Kelly all day long, literally go 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 from the morning, and then fall flat to my face in the evening. And the red thread that carried me was that I got to get it right. I got to do it right. Got to get going. Got to get. And so speed through to, recovery and some peace of mind around the eating and relationships and, all these things. And, my trouble thinking, wasn't far away from me, although the success was kind of where I put my focus, and that's what I thought was important. I thought that's what we were here to do, to be successful, work really hard and get it. And so fast forward to 2015, where I came to a place that I wanted to see something different. I was having a beautiful spiritual experience, and I really wanted something different, and I didn't know what that was. And so I decided to do a drastic move, which wasn't unlike me necessarily, and leave my career. And so I began an educational plight in 2015, and I started to look at all the ways that I could support people. So having been a teacher and teaching hairdressing, I was always listening. But I was listening to be getting it right. So how do you want it? What's the way it's going to be? What are you going to do? And I was teaching, to get it right, to have them get it, to have them see it, And that push, that feeling of push was still, again, the red thread that I believed was my own, which was really not. And yet it was working for me. If I pushed hard enough, somebody's going to get it, even though, so these people could quit, those 2 will get it and they'll go on to do. And I just didn't see it. I just didn't see it wasn't working. And so I went back to school and I started to open my mind, because it took a lot more of me at an older age to be in school. So having the reading in front of me again and really investing myself in those moments to really see what was on the pages. And so my first investment was in a coaching school that was online, and I did that for a year. And it was more of the law of attraction style coaching and more of the metaphysical. And that led me to listen a little bit more to Michael Neal. And that led me to Jamie Smart. And that led me to investing in myself with Jamie Smart. Some of you might know Jamie Smart's Clarity Pro. And I joined Clarity Pro, and that gave me Jamie has a pool of resources that once you sign on, they just flood your index or your, and it was like, whoa. And I decided, I guess I was listening deep enough and had got invested with some Sid, and then I started, I was in a coaching college called Erickson College International, and I had done enough work with the principals that the college was seeing me, and let's just say that. They were seeing me, and I was employed by the college. And for 4 years, I supported that college with some of my teacher background, and also with Sid and the message of the understanding. And I was looking for the ways of how can I overlap that here? What can wisdom say about this? And I was in a college that was solution-focused, strategic corporate coaching. Okay. And to me, I was like anything. I was like, I always was. I can do this. I can map this. I can make this work. I can, I can think my way into a strategy and solution that will map these 2 together. Needless to say, it wasn't happening. It wasn't happening. And so I went to look at some of the resources because I really felt the pull for that deep, centered space that the principles was giving me. And over on the business side, I was still executing, but what I was feeling was this thought pattern of not good enough. I just wasn't feeling good enough in these rooms, and I didn't know that was me. I didn't know it was on me. I didn't realize that I was the not good enough planner, and that not good enough stuff was on me. And so I started to settle down a little bit and see that line that Elsie will always say, thought creates feeling. And somewhere in my experience, that just fell deeply into me, and I realized, oh, it's not them. It's not that. And as I was working for the college, I realized that I was creating these experiences. And I remember, having this deeply perfectionist mode running, which was one of my red thread experiences. And I realized that I was in some not combative, but really challenging circumstances with one of my instructors. And I was her assistant for the day. And what happened was we just weren't connecting. And I was trying my hardest, to get everything up on the walls exactly the way she would want, and, make sure all the students were taken care of. And she was not liking it. And so I remember having a moment, that insightful moment, that at the time I didn't know it was the principals doing what they do. And I was at a beautiful hotel that we often worked at here in Vancouver, and I walked out on the beautiful boardwalk, which was surrounded by exotic yachts and right on a marina. And I looked to these yachts and I looked to the sea, which is the ocean right outside the door. And I just said, what am I to do now? If there's an answer, please give it to me. Because I thought right in that moment I was quitting. I was going to just quit and leave. And I just got really still. And the insight came. And the insight said, absolutely clearly, put some love on it. And of course I was like, I was aback. I was just like, and then it hit me. And when that feeling comes and it's almost like there's no stopping it. The tears started to flood. The peaceful moment came, and I was still. I was just still in that moment, and I realized that was everything I was looking for. And in that moment, that began the new understanding of what red thread is. And I began weaving that in that very moment. And I walked straight into the room, and I walked over to that instructor, and I held her hands, and I said, I absolutely honor you and respect you and think she is an amazing instructor. And I said, I love you and I want to do this together. And in the 4 years that I had worked for that company, they were often wanting me to go ship to other areas. They wanted me to work in other areas because the Vancouver arena was full of master coaches that could do that job. And they were sending me to China. And they were sending me to other places where I could execute coaching, but just not here. And when I began the plight there, I said, I want to coach in Vancouver. I want to teach in Vancouver. And in that very moment, she turned to me and she said, would you like to train the last half of the class tomorrow? Which would be the closing of the class. And that was the first moment that anyone truly saw me. And I thought, I knew then that red thread of the principles had just taken me. And that was the last time I trained for that course. And the very next thing that happened was the company offered me a China contract. And it happened to land on the same day that the principal's little school on Salt Spring was. And I had already signed up for the little school. So I knew the answer to that question was no. And of course I thought, this is really putting my job on the line. But I knew with all my body that I was going to the little school. And so I took myself to the little school with that little insight and that little bit of understanding. And of course, I might have come like a lot of people come to Salt Spring. If you've read the book Beyond Beliefs, they mention about how a lot of people come to Salt Spring looking to see, and many go away seeing all that they already know. And I came looking to see in my, what I call speed of Kelly, living the life of the speed of Kelly. And I was very busy and I was wanting them to get on with the going, let's get the data, let's get everything going. And in that weekend, I realized that I was moving to the speed of Kelly. I didn't know anything about the speed of love. Because what I witnessed on the dock at that beautiful hotel was that was a moment of love. And I hadn't felt those moments for a very long time. And so the pre-life before was very busy, very sped up, very much in my thinking, and very much full of how to get it right, and not good enough, and keep going because you're going to get it. And so after the principles came to answer that question, Anne-Marie, was it just never stopped. But what happened was the red thread created a new understanding for me in my heart, where I got to see that slowing down to the speed of love, as Joe Bailey so graciously, shared me that mantra, was the way for me to see wisdom at its best, my wisdom, which, by the way, I thought I never had because I always looked to everybody else. I didn't have wisdom. Everybody else did, but I didn't have any. And so I needed you to tell me, right? I needed everyone to tell me. And so the Swedish call the red thread the through line. And I call the red thread the weaving of love and understanding in everywhere I go. And so, I just, the point, how they say pointing people in the direction, it's that needle point, but it's not pointing on you. It's pointing and weaving its way through these communities like you have beautifully built, Anne-Marie, and through Kind Mind Community and everything that I am guided to moment. And the understanding took me to the 3 Principles School on Salt Spring 3 times. And I really understood when Sid would say to people like Bill and Linda Pettit, yeah, come on over, we'll have a conversation. And then when they would arrive, he'd say, well, we'll talk tomorrow, and then tomorrow would come and Bill and Linda would be all eager and ready. And he said, I think we'll have to connect the next day. You go have some time on the island. And he'd allow for this gracious space of humanness to fall into themselves, into those that, and because I came with my agenda, and from what Linda and Bill said, they came with their agenda, looking for come on, Bill, come on, Sid, give me the answer, and the answer wasn't through Sid, it was through that place of stillness. And so I got over there and I got to see how sped up I was. And I think every year that I'm part of this community, and every aha moment is been guided, rather than it been, what should I do next? What am I going to do? How am I going to execute the principles? How am I going to put, something together? Rather than that, I just somewhat feel retired. I feel retired, even though I'm nowhere near retirement. And all of the people, the first gens, the second gens, and even like my niece and nephew, every one of these people are pointing me in the direction of stillness, just getting in the moment with people. And what I realized is the red thread of deeply listening was my most gifted source of connection. And so I love listening to what you bring with your conversations, Anne-Marie, and the conversations that this community brings. And the understanding is continuously moving. And I'm really curious. I'd love to know what other people see. I'd love to know what everybody else has seen or what they've heard.
I really resonated with what you said about you thought everybody else knew the answer and you didn't. And I felt that so much during most of my life before I came across this understanding. Everybody, I used to listen to other people's opinions above my own. And even when their opinion was wrong, I would still go with that because everybody else knew more than me.
Yeah. Yeah, like God forbid I have any answers. I know, and that it's it's so um, unseen. It's so unseen, that space where, when I mean I it holds true, that place where they're seeing. I was doing a lot of seeing. Oh yeah, I see that. I see this. I see that. I can see this. Oh yeah, I see. Oh, I see your attitude. Oh, I see you're upset. There's a lot of seeing. But that place where we can see and I don't need to do anything. Behold and witness the beauty of the person that is in front of you unfolding in whatever way, whether it be fits at the beach. Yesterday, my niece, in a moment of excitement, she took the lid off the sandwiches and all the tops blew off and into the sand. and the ensuing feelings for her about the mistake that she had made, and just watching how her upset, just took her over in a moment. Where one minute we were happy, ready to eat sandwiches, the next minute the tops of the sandwiches blew off, and she was just beside herself. And being able to hold space for her and just love her in that moment and say, buns are overrated, because all the goods are on the bottom half anyway. And just being in the moment. And then she just saw that, from tears and crying and fearful that her papa, her dad, would be upset with her, to going to, well, where should we throw them out? We shouldn't leave them on the beach. They've got sand all over them. And just seeing that for myself. I mean, God knows what she'll be able to see when she's 10. So I don't know. What about everybody else? What are you guys seeing? I'd love to hear.
I'm happy to come in. I love that speed of Kelly, and I can really resonate with that, because when I was in the corporate world, I was running at speed of Linda and speed of the organization non-stop. And I have to say, I got a buzz from it until I didn't. And then I realized it was just not sustainable anymore. But it felt as though that's what I had to be, and always keeping up. And if I wasn't keeping up and I wasn't coping and I wasn't on top of everything, then I was failing. So when I found the principles and dropped into that quiet space for the first time, when I let go of anxiety that I didn't know that I was still kind of experiencing moment to moment, I was creating it for myself because I was so familiar with that feeling. When it went, it was almost unbearable for me initially, rather than a feeling of bliss. So I'm almost slightly envious of other people with their dropping into the moment and it just being this wonderful experience, because for me it was almost like there's something wrong with me, there's something missing now. It was like an old friend. I'd lost an old friend called anxiety, but now I miss it when I don't connect with that. But for me, it's not I haven't experienced a big euphoric moment of any kind. It's just a quietness and a calmness, and that's lovely. So yeah, thank you for Speed of Kelly. That really resonated in particular.
Linda, I have to say, yeah, I that high that I got from all that speed, like that, wow, I'm on fire, and that was the thought, that I was succeeding. I might have been doing nothing. I would have just been in my car driving. But that high, oh, I get that. That's definitely something that was charging the experience, like breathing life to it. And when, I often referred to, before corporate, I referred to that experience because it, if it wasn't work, something was the donut hole. I felt like, and I'm hearing you, and that's what came out for me is, that place I was trying to fill the hole with anything, because this hole, needed to be full up of whatever, right? And the food was the first thing. Fill it with food, right? Then it was, oh well, it's got to be work now, because now that the food isn't filling it, there's got to be something. And yeah, that's when I too felt a deep emptiness. There was a bit of a hole for a while. And those insights they would fill up. It'd be like, what would we say? Like a sink, you'd fill it up and it's like, oh, do you feel that love? That love is just, oh, wow, this moment. And then someone would pull the drain. you know, I get that. It's a work in progress for me as well.
Yeah. I also had the impression that insights had to be massive, that they were something really big. And then I realized that when in other groups and listening to other people speak, sometimes they are just like a slotting into place, a gentle understanding, rather than this huge everything shifting. It's just little nudges. So for a long time I was just waiting for this big thing and feeling empty and thinking, well, what now? But yeah, I'm over that now.
I think that's the weaving. Would you agree? It's that weaving through. You get I missed all the subtleties, the little ones. Hi, Xander. I missed all the little ones. I wasn't seeing it because I was waiting for the grandiosity. It was like, hit me now. I get that.
I love that you invited it in. I guess I probably haven't thrown it out there in that same way when you said, right, tell me where do I go now? What am I to do? And I probably haven't thrown it out like that. Just for trusting. So yeah, we'll see where it goes.
Yeah. Xander, great to see you. Where are you?
Yeah.
Right where you are.
I'm in Northern Ireland.
Oh, beautiful. My family's from Armagh.
The background isn't Northern Ireland, obviously, but yeah, Armagh. I've never been to Armagh. I was going to go there a couple of years ago. Listen, the reason I switched my camera on, I've been sort of busy. I'm in my glad rags, and I'm sort of busy sorting, tidying and things. And I was listening as I was going, and the reason I turned my camera on was because Linda mentioned the difference between the different sizes of insight. And what sort of came to me was that, how you go into the supermarket and you find you go into the confectionery section, yeah, and sometimes there's fun-sized bags of Mars bars or whatever, and the small, it just occurred to me, the small insights are like fun-sized insights. Give me a bag of fun-sized insights any day.
What would your flavor be?
Oh, I don't know. Maltesers probably. I'm not familiar with them. Really.
I love that. No, I love that. I think Linda was really on point, and that from my experience, I was too waiting for the grander, larger moments, and that moment that happened was so subtle because I realized I was so lost in my head around all that I was doing, all that I thought was right, and then there came the moment where I just realized it was all not going right. It was just not feeling. The feeling was so off-putting. And yet the moment was a Malteser. It literally was. It was just like, put some love on it, Kelly. Like, hello. And what unfolded after that was the whole package. I got to eat the whole box. Yeah, that's.
You were asking, sorry, Kelly, you were asking, what do others see? What I was thinking was the first thing that come to me when you asked that question. It wasn't so much about what you were sharing. I was listening passively, but when you, I'll put it this way: I wasn't listening wholly because, as I said, I was busy doing other things. So, but I was listening. Not doing much thinking while I was listening, I might add, but anyway, what occurred to me, the first thing that sprung to my mind was how I've often said in the past that when in my teenage years and even possibly into my 30s or 40s, I'm not getting any clues at what age I am now, but for so long, it looked to me like everybody else in the whole world knew exactly what they were doing, and I hadn't a clue. And then suddenly I realized, because for me it was actually quite a big insight when it happened for me, and it was actually before I heard about the three principles. The three principles just sort of put it all into place for me, right? Sort of clarified everything for me in some ways, but without getting into that in any detail, suddenly when it did happen for me in 2012, it was like suddenly I knew, but I thought I was the one that was. Before, I just thought everybody else knew, and I just didn't. I hadn't a clue, and I was just doing my best. After the insight, it felt like I was the one. I was going insane, and everybody else was, well, they had a different type of insanity, but And then I realised, no, wait a minute, I actually do know what I'm doing. Having had and there was other people who knew what they were doing, but it wasn't just everybody and anybody. It certainly wasn't my parents and the other the other agents of socialization that I thought I knew what was going on, how to live this life, and now I know, and I'm trying to carry that message, and so yeah, that was that's what's in my mind. Sorry for going on so long about that.
No, that's beautiful, and what I was going to say was, and continuing to eat the Maltesers, one at a time. I think that's just what we're all doing. I love that you shared that. Thank you very much. It's beautiful, beautiful. Anne-Marie, do you want to share?
Only that I now fancy some Maltesers.
I love the word teasers too, because they do tease us. They do. That's I'll have to use that later. Yeah, they have a teasing way of gravitating my heart, those little bits, those little moments, and they're so small and subtle. Like Linda said, it's not always the big ones that we're waiting for. I think it's the smaller ones that I actually see more from, or I appreciate them so they come more often. Yeah. The personal listening. The personal listening, I think, was the key moment. As Xander you just said, I was listening, but now I'm, all of a sudden you came to listening, I think that's been my experience and my learning all the way along, and just wanting to do a little more of it.
Yeah. Something Dave Banks once said has stuck with me, which is, you don't always know when you have an insight. It can just be other people notice because something about you has changed.
Hmm. That's lovely. I want to share something with you. Do you guys want to hear something? I thought this was just so spot on for today. So here's a quote, and it's not posted, but I think it's probably something of Sid or somewhere around. Your work is not to drag the world kicking and screaming into a new awareness. Your job is to simply do your work, sacredly, secretly, silently, and those with eyes to see it, to see and ears to hear will respond. And I just loved that. Thought it was so appropriate. I'm seeing all of you deeply and very grateful for having this small room. I'm often I often get really nervous in a big room where there's lots of people, and it's like, so it was nice just to have this intimate time, Anne Marie. I thank you so much for that.
It's like having you in my living room, all three of you.
It is. And Linda and Xander, thank you so much for coming. I'm so glad we got to connect this time because we didn't get to connect last time. And Xander, I'm sure we're going to see you again.
I try as much as possible to stay in the Three Ps community as much as possible. So, in fact, yeah, the first one of these I was at last week, and actually, even thinking about it now, I was so moved. Really, I was, yeah. I think it was one of those David Banks moments where I wasn't sure. I'm not sure how, but something happened. No, that's not to say last week was better than this week. It's just to say that last week was what it was, and I enjoyed it, and hence I'm back. So yeah, I do I try and do something along with what's going on around events in the Three Ps community. I've been with Jenny and Dave, is it Dave? Jenny and Dave a few times on their calls. Thursday night's probably my favourite night for going on the what's it? Something the community, the drop-in.
Oh yeah.
Is it
the grounded community?
Heartfelt presence.
Yeah.
So I drop in there every so often, usually a Thursday night. So yeah, I'm always looking out for what's going on next, So yeah, you'll see me a bit, if you do the same.
Beautiful. I look forward to it. Look forward to it. I like just sitting in the room and feeling the moment. There's just a place where Elsie often offers deep, long, still moments in her courses. And it just is that place where people reflect. And I often say to people that, when you come to the Q&A part of a class or whatever, sometimes it takes myself and others to catch up what they just heard, and then reflect on it. And so, yeah, the stillness allows for a deeper connection. So,
and I share a little story. I can't remember who I heard it from, but it was about a nomad tribe in one of the African deserts, I believe. And they used to walk and walk and walk for prolonged hours in the blazing sun. And then they would stop. The elder would just make them stop. And people that were traveling with us, well, why are we stopping? We haven't got to where we want to get to yet. And he said, no, we're stopping. And they'd stay there for several hours until he was ready to leave. And he said, well, how do you know when it's time to leave? And he said, it's when our souls have caught up with our bodies. And I thought how lovely that was, the respecting it. It was just that travel and that journey and just honoring themselves.
Where was that from? That's gorgeous.
I really can't remember where I heard it. I really don't know, but if I ever find it, I'll point you towards it.
or even, I'd love you to share that. That's just a beautiful. You can put that up on the Kind Mind page and share that. I just think that's gorgeous.
I'll try and reference it before I do that, in case
Yeah.
I'm in country or whatever. But that was the essence of it. It was a lovely thing, just giving time for your soul to catch up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's in those moments, and I think that's what I see, is that the red thread, the through line, is always happening. It's way ahead of me. And it's me. They obviously knew where they were journeying to, but they had to wait to get, that's me. It's like I'm just pausing until the next step arrives, until what makes sense arrives, rather than running down the track to the speed of Kelly. Yeah.
It's funny, before this understanding, I always felt like I had to fill the silences, because it always felt like an awkward silence. But why is it awkward? It's made up that it's awkward. Who's made it awkward?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you mind if I share a story myself?
Please.
It comes from, I heard it years ago, and it was well, it's similar to the whole insights thing, big ones, small ones, and it was Anthony De Mello that I heard telling this story first. He says there's this. He says everybody, we talk about spiritual enlightenment and all the rest of it, and everybody's expecting the flashing lights, Sydney Bank style, the big light and all the rest of it. And so he says this. Then he starts telling this story. He says there's this man sitting with his friend in the market square. And Anthony De Mello's Indian, so I imagine something, India, Delhi, Market Square. So imagine this man sitting in the sand on a curbstone or something, and he says this man sitting in the market square, and he has like a stringed instrument, a sitar or something. He says, and he's plucking one string, and it's making the string, the noise that string makes, and it's one note, one string, and his friends come to him, or people are in the market, that he's sitting with his friend, and others come and they say to him, that's a lovely note you're playing there, and you've got more strings, so if you pluck some of the other strings, you'll have something before, something after, and it'll make a lovely tune. And he turns to his friend and sitting next to him in the market, and he says, these people are all waiting for the symphony. He says, but I know. He says, I've got my note.
That's beautiful. That carried me, actually, the story carried me to India in my head. I went there. Yeah. We only need one note in an entire symphony, like the grain of sand. This has been a lovely, I can't tell you how much I've enjoyed being here and collaborating and having this more open conversation. Often speakers come and they just speak and speak and speak, and they tell their wisdom, but I'm very much for collaboration and for understanding all of you. It's been
Lovely
awesome.
listening to you as well, Kelly, and having you here.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It's really great. It's really great. I love being a part of the communities that we're sharing, Anne-Marie. Love it.
Lovely seeing you, Xander and Linda, as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for following up to get me here.
Yeah.
And you're doing 4 of these, Anne Marie, is that right?
I do.
I think I have 4. Sorry.
Sorry, I do 1 a week. So I've put them on YouTube afterwards as well. Remap Your Life is the name of my YouTube channel. If you want to see any other early recordings.
There you go.
What's it called again?
Remap.
Oh, of course it is.
Your Life. Yeah.
Of course it is. It goes in my diet as it goes in my Google Calendar as Remap Your Life. Yeah, I'll find that.
Okay. It's lovely speaking to all of you.
Yes, love
you all again soon.
Continue to remap your Maltesers, everybody.
I might go to the garage and get some Maltesers.
It's lovely to talk to you. Thanks so much.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Have a great day. Thanks again, Anne Marie.